So I'm gonna go over some of the setup options for this system. I went and got 2 new cameras this weekend. They were $50 each, which I thought was actually pretty good considering their list for like $69. I'll show you again how easy they are to set up. Plug in one end to the camera, one end into the switch. They call that a switch. I'm not sure it's a switch. I think it's a bunch of point-to-points, but they call them a switch. So those should come on in a few minutes. There's a little hole right there that has a switch behind it, and if you put this in, get you a very thin needle. Put that in, and you have to be able to feel the switch going in. You can actually miss it. There, I felt it go in. I'm gonna hold it for 5, and it comes up and lets me change my password. I want to do it again and hold it for 10 seconds, and I want to reset it to the default. Now, if you remember on the last video, I actually set enough options to get it working, but I didn't go over any of the options. I want to install it from scratch. There's the first beep, there's the second beep. I didn't hear another beep. There we go. I heard 3 beeps, which should set it back to default. Let's turn it off and back on and see if that actually did it. They give you an extra power connector for each camera. You can provide local power out wherever the camera is mounted and use the Ethernet cables, but plug them into a switch at your house that is not PoE. So it gives you a lot of options. This is just like when you take it out of the box and first start using it. So that's actually a handy option. Okay, monitor supports 1080p resolution output. Do you want to change the resolution? Well, I want to have 1080p because that's what the monitor does. It'll support 4K, but I don't really want to dedicate a 4K monitor to this. Say OK. And it comes back. So it has been changed, reverting in 15 seconds. That's if it changes. Say OK. That's if you change it to something not supported and you can't see anything. It waits 15 seconds and reverts back to whatever it was. So, English language, they've got a bunch of languages. The default is device 0, and you should keep that unless you have 2 systems. The second one you want to make device 1, and you can actually link the cameras from the 2 if they're this model. Admin is the default. You can change it to whatever you want. I prefer to stay with admin. So, new admin password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You do not want to use more than 8 characters. The mobile app will only support a password 8 characters long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm showing my password in my video. So what? You get into my system, what are you going to do? Watch my videos? You want to see the street? Come drive down the street. Doesn't matter to me. Apply. Admin name and password saved successfully. So now they want you to prove it. 1. Okay, so now it's going to move into the wizard, which is the default. And I've got 1 camera. I don't think I have 2. It could be under this, though. We'll wait and see. I'm going to go through the settings for the average user. Then I'll do a second video that goes over the more complicated features. Very few people will use those. I don't want to bore everybody with them. So DHCP, yes, I want DHCP. Your system will get an IP address automatically, and you definitely want that. And it gets it from your ISP router. Now if I scroll down, I get these services, web, client, RTSP. RTSP is real-time streaming protocol. Web is port 80, HTTP. Client is 9000. That means the phone is going to connect into your system using TCP port 9000. HTTPS is encrypted port 80, 443. So if you have problems setting up your client, call your ISP and say, I need these 4 ports opened through my firewall to this system. So you've got to be able to give them the ports you need opened and the IP that's actually assigned to your system. This is 10.0.0.170. So if you give them that information, they can set that up for you. No changes required here. You're just confirming that you want the HCP, and those are the ports you need open for the client to work successfully. Those ports not open is the #1 reason why remote viewing from a phone does not work. Okay, so I've got all the settings that I want, which are nothing. PPPoE, use that with DSL mostly. Might be the only place I've seen that used. So you say next. Okay, the date. But before I set that, I want to go to NTP and enable it. It's going to go to pool.ntp.org and it's going to update the time, and it's going to do that regularly. So do update now, time updated successfully, and I'll go back to time, 2:25:23. The time is 7:16, and my time zone GMT +8. If you are on the East Coast, you are GMT -5. IP cameras. There's a lot of ways to add these. I prefer to go this automatic route. And it has assigned an internal IP address. You'll never see that on your network. It's only internal to this box. And they're using 10.10.25. And you can see it's automatically found the cameras, automatically turned them on. Everything's fine. And you can rename them if you want to. Switch mode is automatic. PoE mode is automatic. I recommend you leave those on. And you can set an individual username and password for each camera. I think you should just take the defaults. It's got a hard drive, and it says full, and it says it's 1.39 terabytes. I put a slightly bigger hard drive in this one. And 0 megabytes free. I can format the drive or do an add net hard drive, HDD. Net hard drive is if you have a NAS, which is a little box that sits on the network full of hard drives. And you can send your recorded video to that NAS and get dramatically more space. Overwrite is auto. You can say keep it for so many days or turn overwrite off. If you turn it off when the disk gets full, it's full, no more recordings. Of course, if you have that huge NAS, maybe you want that. But if you set it to auto, it'll use a circular buffer, which means it'll fill up the 1 terabyte, then it'll go back to what was recorded first and overwrite it as it goes. So if you can record 7 days, you always get the last 7 days. If you turn this off, you get 7 days in time right now, and it will never record again. So in my opinion, you should leave it on auto. Okay, format hard drive. If I put a new hard drive in here, I can format it. And if you saw my other videos, I tried connecting a USB drive to this system through the USB port. It will not support that. Okay, my output resolution I can change. Right now I have it at 1080p, which is 1920 by 1024. And this is a 24-inch monitor. Set it to whatever your monitor is going to support. And most smart TVs you're going to hook this to, the basic 1080p is what I'd recommend. Unless it supports 4K. If it supports 4K, go for it. I've had a lot of questions about, will this system burn into the screen? Modern monitors and TVs, no. But never hook a security system to an OLED monitor. OLED is a new system. This monitor uses a backlight that covers the whole screen. There's 2 lights on each side, and it backlights the whole screen. OLED has backlights set for every pixel on the screen. I have no clue how they do that, but if you've never seen an OLED monitor, it is a life-changing monitor. You will look at TV differently from that point forward. It is that much better than what you're used to. Okay, it gives me my IP, my subnet, and P2P ID. You should take your client and scan that. And that should start the setup process for you. You got to do user ID and password, but you already have that, really. I actually suggest you set up a second user ID to use for the remote viewing. Okay, it's going to give me a summary of everything I did. And you see it went 10.00.170. I think it's odd that it sent to DNS, to Comcast DNS, which is 75.75.75.75. And it set the secondary DNS to 8888, which is Google's DNS. I don't know if Comcast is now giving out 8888, because in the past they didn't. They gave out 75.75.76.76. Or the system's actually putting that in to protect yourself from misconfiguration. It's kind of irrelevant. Finish. There's the basic setup wizard. So here's my 2 new cameras, and I did this deliberately. Why did I not put this one here? Well, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It says this is a PoE switch. If it was a PoE switch, it wouldn't identify what was plugged in as LAN 1 as camera 1. These are all considered point to point. So it's kind of hardwired. LAN 1 will always be camera 1, LAN 2 will always be camera 2. So I put it in 7 and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can see that it's not truly a switch. It's hardwired 1-to-1. So I want to change these. I don't want to leave them to that. I think that those will eventually come up if you wait long enough. Okay, so a lot of stuff down here. Believe it or not, I'll start in the second option, which is layouts, which has a layout 4, layout 9, more layouts, auto sequence through the cameras, playback. You just saw that one switch to night vision. See how it went bright and then backed off from it, and then the other 2 cameras just came up. So let's do the layout first. Layout, I want to use 4. I got 4 cameras. I don't want any dead screen. So this lets me see the most real estate on the screen. As you can see, the night vision is actually pretty clear. And this one, I can guarantee you, is only using the light from the camera. There is no additional lighting. This one uses a street light that's right out here. But there's enough light in the road that it picks up all that ambient light, gives you a good picture. This one, I have the old system pointing at this, but the camera's too far away to shine its light on that area. So that area is always black. But this one I put right in the area, and it's only using its own light to pick that up. It is pitch black dark in that area. And I probably got it pointed too far this way. I need to actually pan it a little bit this way and light this a little bit. I don't really need to see what the wall's doing. Pretty simple. I can double click on a camera and it makes it the main focus. So there's that street light that's providing all of this light. Now if this camera is pointing there, that light can only go about 20 feet out, maybe 30, but 20 feet is what I would expect. So if you're looking at something beyond that 20 feet and there's no additional light, you won't see it. I am very happy with the quality of this system in terms of the pictures that it gives me. I reset the system to defaults, but it didn't blank the hard drive. It's something to remember. If you're like giving the system to somebody or selling it, you might want to go in and format the hard drive to get rid of any recordings. I don't know. So there's a bunch of layouts, 1, 2, 3, auto sequence through the cameras, full screen. I don't like that. I like to have a monitor big enough I can just see the 4. And I might actually go get more cameras for this, I don't know. So sound, I can turn the sound on. There's no sound coming from those cameras, which unless a car goes by or the dogs bark, there won't be. I can switch resolutions, mainstream and substream. There's mainstream, and that's what's recorded. There's substream, which is the quality that is sent to like a web browser if you're remote viewing this. And then it's not listed here, but there's a third resolution called mobile stream, and that's the stream that's sent to a phone. This is what I call the control panel. You can shut down the system, lock the screen, go into setup, search. This is search for playback. And you right click to get out of it. So let's go back into that and do setup. This system, the manual for this system is 202 pages long. They went in and put every option they could think of in this system, and they put it all in the manual. When I say they put every option you think you could imagine, that's good. These cameras don't support most of those options. Like PTZ. PTZ has a camera that lets you control it and have it pan back and forth. If you think of the dome cameras in the department stores, that's a PTZ. It lets you set it differently. And people have been saying, can you turn off the IR lights? There actually is a way to do that. Okay, so setup channel. Most 99% of people using this system are going to use the defaults. And we're going to just go with those defaults. There are privacy zones. Area 1. I can say never record that. Say I don't want to see that person get their mail. Say never record that. Area 2. Never record that. I don't want to see them get in their car. Area 3. Say I don't want to see the fire hydrant. Well, okay, so good. So I can block things out. And it's not just to hide things you don't want to record. It could be to hide things that don't show up well. I had a case where I had mounted a camera under the eave of the roof, and you could see the corner of the roof, like right here. So maybe I didn't want to record that. And those areas seem a little small. Motion, sensitivity. It didn't reset all the options because 3 looks to be the option, and this one's set to 8. And I had set that when I was messing with it before. So I want to set these to the highest setting of sensitivity. Now you're going to get more recordings, so you're not going to be able to record for as many days, say. But we have those dogs who run around a lot. And unless I set the motion detection on the most sensitive setting, it won't record the dogs correctly. We had a dog that got out of their fence. So we went to the cameras, and it showed the dog headed for the fence, and then it showed the dog gone. We couldn't watch the dog escape, so we went in and set those high, and the next time she did it, we found it. So PIR is one of the things we're going to go over in the bigger system. It's how, and deterrence and intelligence is if you have, you can set up alarms and how they react and the alerting that. So to me, this has an incredible amount of options. You go down to record, pre-record. So if it gets an event, it can rewind and show the video before the event happened. So if your event triggers on some motion, it will show you what came up to that motion. Capture, auto capture. I can set them all to on. Only 4 of those are going to work because I've only got 4. Now the stream type that I want to record, I always want to record the main stream. That's going to be your best quality. Capture schedule. So I want to do motion, and I want to do 24/7. That easy. Alarms, and this is mostly used for motion. And you can set the record time, a buzzer, which this doesn't have, send an email. You can upload video to an FTP server. You can send it to the cloud, which I think they support Google Cloud and on your Dropbox account. And FTP, you have to have an FTP server. Most people don't, by the way. Send an email, show a message on the screen, email. I can only speak for Comcast because that's my service provider. They want you to use a different port than 25. 25 is not encrypted. It is not considered secure. And there's actually 2 ports that Comcast supports, 465 and 567. You have to go search for that. Okay, so there's the basic setup. Feel free to leave comments and questions. I usually respond within a day or so. Setting up the client will be the next video that I do. I don't like these to get too long, and that's the one I usually get the most questions on, but this is a nice system. Highly recommend it. And this week, and this week only, it's $150, which is normally $300. When I got this system, I paid $200 for it and thought I was getting a hell of a deal. If I'd have waited about 6 months, I'd have got $50 cheaper. But Harbor Freight's like that. You can almost, no matter what you pay for something, you can almost always find it cheaper. So highly recommend it. Very, very well organized system. Very configurable and way, way better than the last system in terms of quality of the video and the options that they give you. The option to reset the user and reset the config was a major step forward for this system. Okay, so if you like the videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.